and this is part 2 of Diddy Did Not Kill Tupac. We're going to go over what we reviewed in part 1 and give you all of the evidence. All of the evidence. So, first things first, let's go over the facts. They said at 11:15 p.m. in the police record, September 7th, 1996. That's when the shooting occurred. That's when the police documented everything. Remember that date. Remember that time. 11:15 p.m. September 7th, 1996. Now, in part 1, we went over 2 notable figures. Different journeys in their life came into the same conclusion. The conclusion that both of them came to is the shooting happened inside the car, and there was a third person in that car that was a woman. Dick Gregory said this.
When Tupac was killed, well, I know something. The mob don't go there and have a shootout in the front lounge. Would make you think black folks could. And who was in the car with him? Quincy Jones' daughter.
Mm-hmm. Well, she was? Okay.
How I know that New York Times don't know it? How I know that he'd been attempted to be killed so many times, the car's bulletproof. So you had to shoot through a bulletproof car to get him in the head. He was shot in the car. That's what this was about.
And Sloan Bell said this.
This car is driving down the street in Vegas, and we know they do roll up on them and they just pull their guns out and shoot. I am actually getting there was somebody in the car that pulled the trigger, not somebody outside the car. I am also getting that he was not dead after the shooting. Well, I guess he wasn't. He went to the hospital, but he should have walked out of the hospital. There was a female romantic interest that made sure that this wasn't going to happen. Now, is it the one that he was dating at the time? Or is it another one that went to visit him? Or is it an ex one? I don't know that. I'm not hearing that because I'm kind of feeling the energy fade away. But I'm definitely seeing that the shooting happened in the car from behind him. And I'm feeling it was politically connected. There was a connection to his girlfriend of the time, her father, the police department, and a politician back east that was connected to his mother before he was born. It's connected all the way back. It's like little dominoes all the way along. This was orchestrated, and it was orchestrated in order to make people and corral them and make them think a certain way. Exactly the opposite of what Tupac was. Exactly the opposite, okay? This man was not for that bullshit of anybody telling anyone what to do. He was actually freedom-oriented, way, way ahead of his time.
So, when we put 2 and 2 together, and we drop this bombshell of evidence on you, which is the back seat of the car, which proves someone was indeed in the back seat of the car. Now, some say it was a bodyguard named Frank. Because even Suge says a lot of people are saying a lot of different stories to cover their own but that's not the true story. Let's hear what Suge says, somebody that was actually in the car.
I'm going to take this oldies out you always listen to, and I'm going to put the song in. He says, my song to you. And the song started playing. I said, well, that's more like I'm talking to you than you talking to me. I was taking your collect calls. So Pac put on a song called You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me. And we was bumping that. And it wasn't a situation where I hit my tires or something happened. They tried to kill us again and ran us off the road, and what happened on the strip. And so many people was claiming the club opened back up, but this happened. Most of all the people who have a story, 'cause I don't know who all have a story, but a lot of people who had a story was lying to try to cover their own asses. But I tell you this, there's some people that I talked to, and I heard this shit. They even see small videos of their stuff. Those people are so dead on that what really happened that night, how Tupac really got assassinated, step by step by step. When I heard it, when I seen some of it, it took me right back to the 90s. I never in my whole life entered a time zone like that. And when I say this, it shows you who blocked somebody in, who did what, who was involved, who played a part, who didn't follow us, who didn't come to the hospital, who got paid, who snitched on each other, who told on each other, and who was on one side, but really with the other side. I never, in my whole journey of living, seen something so dead on. And they're supposed to be having this coming out pretty soon.
So then now when we put two and two together, we can piece this puzzle, right? Allegedly. The puzzle is Quincy Jones did not like these comments that Tupac made, nor did his daughters. So Quincy Jones was like, all right, let's send my daughter, because Tupac is a person that openly admits that he's promiscuous. So Quincy Jones was like, all right, allegedly, let's send the daughter out, get him attracted. And another big piece of evidence to show the character of Kadada Jones is Suge said in that same interview that Kadada Jones lied saying she was pregnant with Tupac's baby. And when Suge confronted Tupac about it, Tupac said he ain't ever have sex with her without a condom. So that already lets you know that she's a liar. So liars lie, right? Especially liars that lie about pregnancy. That's one of the deepest liars, you know? So when you put this together, Quincy Jones is like, all right, what is the best spy for a person that is this powerful, that has this much protection from death row? And when you look at the protection from death row, when people say that Suge had a part of it, then why does Suge get so emotional, upset? And there's a documentary of him actually crying about the situation because Tupac dedicated the song "You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me" to Suge. And in that same interview, Suge was speaking of Tupac didn't actually want to leave Death Row Records. He had Machiavelli Records, and he actually was telling Suge to drop the death part of Death Row and just call it The Row, because he was telling him, so Tupac was telling Suge, based on what Suge was saying in the interview, that Tupac was associating the death part to Death Row to all the phonies, Snoop Dogg and all of them. So he was like, just to cut them off, we're going to bring new energy, just call it The Row. We got Machiavelli Records, and we got all of this. So Suge Knight was like, one, how am I involved in this if I got a bullet hole still in my skull? That's what Suge said. And that's true. And then two, he was like, how is he involved in this if Tupac literally dedicated the song to him, You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me, leading up to the passing that was listening to that song, which is very eerie. Then three, how is Suge Knight involved? Because he made a very big point. He said everybody else around him benefited from Tupac's death but him. That doesn't make sense. if he was involved, he would be benefiting from it. Nobody that has quadruple platinum, $500 million plus on average with this giant company that's openly saying that everybody in death row was jealous of Tupac because he called Suge Knight called Tupac death row. He literally called Tupac death row. He said, and remember, Tupac was only, based on what Snoop Dogg said, Tupac was only on death row for like 6 months. 6 months. So of course everybody is jealous of him, because why is the boss saying that you're death row when you only been here 6 months? Right? Then all the money and all the women and all of that. Suge Knight made a very strong point. So then, when we piece all of this puzzle together, we know for sure that someone was in the back of that car because of that photo, which is so incredible evidence. And we know that Quincy Jones didn't like him, and we know that the family didn't like him, because also Quincy Jones' other daughter, Nakadata, said that they had a family meeting. They had a family meeting, and then at the end of the family meeting, then they decided to let him in the family? No, that family meeting was the how we gonna kill him. Allegedly. Right? Even if the other daughters didn't really know all the way, we know what that family meeting was about. Because you don't just switch tunes, especially with the type of things that Tupac said, because Quincy Jones said absolutely not with Tupac. And the only way that logically makes sense that is absolutely yes is if Quincy Jones can gain something from it. And then that's when you get the political parties. That's why you hear Suge Knight say that the mother was involved somehow. He probably didn't know to the fullest effect. But then we understand that Tupac was actually in his mother's stomach when his mother was fighting the government by herself and actually won the trial with Tupac in her belly. Anybody that knows spirituality, anybody that knows anything about childbirth and genetics and genetic memory and all of that, knows that just that event happening while being pregnant is going to affect that child. Then we piece all these other puzzles together. Suge confirmed in that same interview that there was many different hits out on Tupac, and it was already paid for. In that same interview, Suge said it's already paid for. So if the hits is already paid for from Diddy's side, and 50 Cent already proves that Diddy didn't like him at all and wanted him out, and then Keefe D went on record saying that Diddy he was paying us, so we know for sure that the hit was paid for, which proves that what Suge Knight was saying in the interview was true. So then you have a multi-layered assassination, because Suge said the word assassination specifically. It was a convergence moment of 3 to 4 parties. And when you have a convergence moment, that's when you have a government, because that's what the government does. Proof of this is Malcolm X. Dick Gregory also talks about the Malcolm X autopsy. Y'all do your research on this. Just type in Dick Gregory Malcolm X and you will see that video. This video ain't about that, but I'm going to tell you how the government works. Dick Gregory said, under the Freedom of Information Act, we found out that Malcolm X didn't have bullet holes in his chest. It was at the top of his head. So he said a laser killed him. And he said the bullets that was given to the fake Muslim dude to shoot Malcolm X was blanks, because the government didn't trust him enough to kill him. Because the ballroom and the venue across the street from the venue that Malcolm X spoke at was rented out a week prior by the government. So they had a sniper over there waiting for the whole event. And then that's how they killed him. So when the government wants to plan a hit, it's always the convergence of multiple parties. And they assign a dedicated person to actually do the job, so that person could get away, scot-free. Now with all of this evidence, who killed Tupac?
Jim and Shane, now Henderson firefighters, have asked us not to use their last names because they're concerned about their safety. They're speaking publicly about that night for the first time.
33s. Make sure y'all go watch Christ of Interest Part 4 on my page, because I have a spiritual connection with Tupac. Me and Tupac are one. However you want to see that is how you see that. And we still hollering out 33s.